What's going on, everybody? Hey, Friday night, when I went to bed, actually, I was still up. But Friday night, there's no way ever that I would have thought that somebody in Dallas, especially a general manager of a sports franchise, would have pissed everybody off more than Jerry. But boy, that Nico did it. Let me tell you, whoo-wee. But anyway, we'll talk about these Cowboys. We might even get on that subject a little bit, and we'll talk about some more things right here next on Cowboys Spit.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take
Cowboys Spit.
Throws back in the end zone. There's
What's going on, everybody? Cowboy C3. Man, that Nico Harrison pissed some people off here, man. He made people mad about this Luka thing. But, we'll talk about that a little bit. But mostly we talk about the Cowboys today. Cowboys coming off of a pretty bad season. You get into this offseason and there's some questionable decisions that are made by ownership, and you end up hiring Brian Schottenheimer, which, is the more and more I'm over it. I'm not going to be mad about it anymore. I was a little bit upset about it at first, but I'm not going to be mad about it anymore because there's some things that he's done here, especially some things that he said in the media that have really, I don't know, it's kind of grown on me a little bit, maybe. He says the right things. And one thing that I do like about him is that he's not, he seems like he's in tune with the players. A lot of players respect him. A lot of players like him. The one thing that you keep hearing about this hire is continuity. And a lot of Cowboy fans, man, we don't want continuity. We want something new. We want something exciting. We want something different, right? And there are some people that are highly, highly upset about it. And, these Cowboy, especially these former Cowboy players are very, very vocal and very, very what's the best way to say it? Pissed off about this hire. Here's one of them, for example.
And I can't believe that we saw the mass, the understanding of all of this. Let me break this down. We have two NFC East teams in the NFC Championship game being played tomorrow. Two NFC East teams in the NFC Championship game being played tomorrow. Our eyes on them. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Our enemies on all fronts. And they're holding a position that we haven't held in 30 fucking years.
He's right. It's been 30 years. And, Philly went on to win an NFC Championship game. And once again, it's Philly and Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Washington makes some moves. We talked about the moves that they made maybe an episode or two ago. We talked about the moves that they made, and they show up in the NFC Championship game. Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels have both been born, played through college, made it to the NFL, and made it to, he was pissed off, and made it to the NFC Championship game before the Cowboys even have done it. And it's crazy that that's happened. Why? Why is that the case? So if you dig even deeper into it, right? Cowboy fans like myself, and I really go back and I think about my dad and my grandfather, right? And that's who I started going to Cowboy games with. I started going to Cowboy games with them. they started. My grandfather got. My dad was the football player in the family. You know, I had some of my uncles played. You know, one of my uncles played basketball. He's a big time basketball player, and the other one's just a really smart dude. Went on to be the dean of students at Eastern Washington University. Like really, really smart guy, right? So my dad was the one. He went to he went to Fresno, played football, and then he went to play some minor league baseball. But he was a football guy, and him and my grandfather started going to Cowboy games, season ticket holders, when they played in the Cotton Bowl. And then they went through Texas Stadium. And then they went into AT&T, and then my grandfather and my grandfather and my father, they both passed away. But it was a tradition, for us, especially in my family, where, we sit down on Sundays and we watch the Cowboys. I try to get my boys to watch the Cowboys. They want to watch the Chiefs. They don't want to watch the Cowboys. The Cowboys suck. They don't. They have no idea what happened back in the day, right? They have no idea what happened 30 years ago. They 13-8, right? So us Cowboy fans, in 80s kids, right? We're the ones that remember what happened with the Cowboys. 70s and 60s, they remember when the Cowboys were good. These kids these days, the fan base is starting to decline because these younger generations of kids, they've never seen the Cowboys win anything, right? Never. So, we go in these periods, you go on these fan blogs, and I even saw in a fan blog today, and I know somebody was probably joking, where they blame Dak Prescott for Luka getting traded. And like it's just like, man, like we're just gonna blame Dak or Tony Romo, whoever the quarterback is, for this debacle that we've had for 30 seasons. And it's upsetting, to a lot of fans. And and then you get sports, you get these sports podcasts, these mainstream sports podcasts, where you got people making comments like this.
The whole process with which this all came about was just so bush league. It really was.
It's a great phrase for it.
And again, if you're going to set these expectations for your franchise, if you're going to be out there and you're going to say, we want the best, and we're all in, and this, that, the other, and you want to make the Dallas Cowboys to live up to their America's team moniker, and you want them to be the face of the league, act like it. Please act like it. Because right now, what you are doing is indicative and reflective of a third-rate organization that didn't have a plan, that is completely reactionary.
Schottenheimer's coached in the NFL for 20 plus years. He's called plays before. He did it in Seattle. I can squint and I start to see a world where this makes sense. Unfortunately, the other people that sit at a Cowboys press conference really kind of ruin this for me.
And these are the kind of things that you hold yourself susceptible to when you make bad business decisions repeatedly, over and over and over and over again. 30 years plus. You refuse to hire somebody that you feel like may show you up. So you hire these coaches that are mediocre at best, with the exception of Bill Parcells. And Parcells came in here and won with a bad team. And then he wanted to take control of the football team. Give me football responsibilities. I'm a football guy. Let me do football things. You said no. Got rid of him. Mike McCarthy comes in here, Super Bowl winning coach, doesn't really get to do things his way. And the reason that I say that is because all of the players that got interviewed at the end of the season were like, yeah, we want McCarthy to come back. We want him to do things his way, do things his way, do things his way. And ultimately, he didn't come back. And, and he, sources say that he just walked away. He was like, I'm not going to get lowballed. You're not going to pay me just this minimal contract and not give me any, not going to give me any control of the football team because, I'm the one that's standing in front of the media getting asked these difficult questions. This year was different, though. This year was really the first year that I've seen the media as well start to ask Jerry the tough questions. And it's because people are frustrated. There have been many, many, many Cowboy fans and in the last couple of days, Maverick fans that said, I will not buy any attire. I will not attend any games. May not even watch them. You know what I mean? But I think we're all gonna watch just to see how this looks, how this turns out. And it to be honest with you, he's saying all the right things. He's got a lot of support, especially with the team. And Schottenheimer's saying a lot of good things, a lot of good things. And I'm kind of interested, at least in the beginning of the season, to see where this goes, just to see what happens. Because you know, the dude has been in the league for 25 years, man. He's been in the NFL for a long time. I know he knows. He knows his way. He knows the ins and outs. He had an excellent mentor in his father as a head coach. And maybe he does know what he's doing. And what it looks like, and we'll talk about that next, is, it looks like Jerry is really giving him the opportunity to kind of pick his own staff and kind of do his own thing. And, you know, it will be interesting to see how they put this team together. You got a lot of things that you have to really sit back and think about. First thing you got to think about is you got to get this whole coaching staff put together. And we'll go over the coaching staff, like I said, in just a minute. And then you have a plethora of free agents that you're going to have to decide what you're going to do, who you're going to keep, who you're going to let go. And then you got this whole Michael Parsons things looming over your head too. This is a really difficult situation to enter yourself into, and you've never had any head coaching experience whatsoever. Kind of interested to know what you guys think about it, man. This is one of the new features that we got, man. We'll be able to call in. So if you guys want to call in, feel free. I'm just interested to hear what other people have to say about it because, I'm more optimistic now than I was before about Brian Schottenheimer, strictly because of his interviews and what he said to the media. Sure, he's saying all the politically correct things. He's saying all the right things, but it seems like he is really, really, really in a position to where he feels like I finally get an opportunity to lead a football team. I finally get an opportunity to lead men. I finally get an opportunity to show what I can do. He definitely didn't get that opportunity the last 3 years here. He didn't get it. He didn't get to call plays. McCarthy decided he was going to call the plays. McCarthy decided that he was going to, take control of the offense. And there was a lot of questionable calls that were made, a lot of questionable usage of players. And, I don't particularly think that the playbook will change very much, especially not here in the next, in the next few years. But I think there'll be some wrinkles. There'll be a couple of twists. And one thing that gives me a small bit of confidence, and it could just be me being a naive fan, is I heard a Stephen Jones interview the other day, and he said some things that I have never heard him nor his dad ever say, ever. Check it out.
Time because at the end of the day, our goal's what our fans want, which is we want to win playoff games, we want to win championships, we want to win Super Bowls.
Kind of along those same lines, there was a lot of talk about family and continuity in the press conference with Brian the other day, and getting a guy that Eberflus to come back. How much does that help that alignment, knowing how he is as a person coming in?
I mean, we call it both things. We want continuity, but we also want change. And obviously what we've done, hadn't gotten the job done. We accept that. We accept that our fans can have frustration. That we hadn't gotten that job done, and you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect something to change. So we need to change, but at the same time, we've got a lot of things right, and so there's a lot of continuity we want to keep as well. So the combination of continuity, but also change, is why Coach Schottenheimer's our coach.
Stephen, you mentioned.
We accept the fact that we can't keep doing the same things over and over and over again and accept change and expect change. Never heard any one of them say that before, ever. And that gives me a glimmer of hope, a small bit. But the proof is in the pudding. For 30 years, that is something that you have not done. You have consistently done things your way, even though it has never been successful. Not successful in the postseason, not successful to an NFC championship game, and definitely not successful to a Super Bowl. It remains to be seen what they do, but you will start to see that here, very, very soon, very soon. Um, there are a lot of things that the Cowboys need to finish, right? And one thing that they've done is they've started to finalize this coaching staff. So Brian Schottenheimer will be the head coach. Clayton Adams will be your defensive coordinator, your offensive coordinator, and Derek Foster will be your running back coach. Clayton Adams, offensive guy he's offensive guy for the Arizona Cardinals, 5.2 yards a carry last year. And that kind of gives you an indication of what the Cowboys are going to try to do this season. They're going to try to run the football, man. Go try to run the football and play good defense. Got a lot of work to do because you got some free agents in this list coming up here, and I'll show you in a minute where you're gonna have to solidify these guys, or you're gonna have to go find some free agents, in other places to where you can solidify your offensive line, maybe get some help, and we'll talk about two guys really that they've been talking about, a lot in the last couple of days, especially in the last 48 hours. That could really come in and help the football team. But one, can you afford them? And two, which one would you choose? If you only get one, which one would you choose? Your defensive staff is going to be headed by Eberflus. And Eberflus, when he was here, he was a linebacker coach. Man, he was exciting. He was exciting. He was, he was fun to watch. He was, just a guy on the sideline that kept everybody spirits upbeat, and that's something that the Cowboys haven't had on the sideline, especially from the coaching staff in a long time. And I like that. I like the fact that they're bringing in some coaches that they feel like maybe can interact with the players better, maybe can relate to the players better, and may get the best out of the players that they possibly can. Dave Brzezinski will be the linebackers coach. Andre Curtis will be a defensive passing game coordinator. Defensive line coach will be Aaron Whitencorn. And your secondary coach will be David Overstreet. Kind of hate that you lost Al Harris, but Overstreet come in and maybe he'll do a good job for you. Nick Sorensen will be your special teams coordinator. Strength and conditioning coach will be Harold Nash Jr. Kendall Smith will be assistant strength and conditioning coach. And then your last strength and conditioning coach will be Cedric Smith. So got some coaches in that they feel like will help the organization. And it seems like that these are guys that maybe Schottenheimer picked. And that's a big change because a lot of times, especially dealing with Cowboy coaches in the past, like your coaching staff, a lot of integral parts of your coaching staff are already here. And, that's, I don't really agree with that. I think that, especially if you're a head coach, you want to have the opportunity to come into an organization, especially a new organization, and build a coaching staff, yourself. Schottenheimer's not new into the organization, but he's still, it seems like, first time in a long time that he's going to get the opportunity to kind of build this staff itself and, put together, hopefully, a coaching staff that can help this team because it's going to need a lot of help, especially if you're going to run the same plays over and over again, man. But hopefully that changes too. These 2025 list of free agents, man, it's a big one. And it's kind of it's kind of scary, some of the guys that are on the list, but not really, man, because there's some dead weight that make a lot of money, man, that you can really get rid of and kind of trim down this staff. Trim down this cap. So Brandon Cooks leads free agency making $19 million a year, $19.8 million a year. Zach Martin at $18.425. I really think Zach Martin will retire, and that'll open that cap space up. DeMarcus Lawrence is a guy you're going to have to make a choice. $13.3 million and, had an injury plagued year, messed his foot up once again, same injury that he's had, a couple of times in his career. And, you start to wonder about durability, especially getting up there in age a little bit. He's 32 years old, about to be 33 years old. Is that some dead weight that you would want to cut? Trey Lance, Eric Kendricks, Jordan Lewis, Cooper Rush. So Trey Lance and Cooper Rush, both backup quarterbacks, are on the block. What do you do with that? Who do you choose? Cooper Rush, you know what you get. You get a solid backup that'll come in and get you a couple wins as a starter, just if the starter goes down. And with Dak Prescott, especially coming off this hamstring tear, and that may be, a disability to him from now until, he decides he wants to stop playing football, is that a guy that you really want to keep? Cooper Rush, is that a guy you really want to keep? You know what you get with him. With Trey Lance, you get more of a dynamic player, but you also get an erratic guy. Played extremely well against the Commanders, though. Against a playoff team, took him down to the wire. Marcus Mariota came in and went crazy on him. Jordan Lewis had an excellent year this year. It's a guy you might want to keep. Eric Kendricks, another guy, came in and led your defense. Linval Joseph, C.J. Godwin, the list goes on down here. Let me take this banner down so everybody can see. My bad. Rico Dowdle's down here on the bottom on the list. Osio Digizua is a guy that you really have to consider keeping because he's been, a mainstay on your defensive line. Probably the only positive you had on your defensive line last year, especially on your interior defensive line. Chauncey Golston, another guy, defensive guy that came in and did a pretty good job for you this year, especially with all the injuries that you had. Carl Lawson, another guy, came in and did a stand-up job. Salary's not that big, but, the year that he had, he probably wants some more money. This is where it gets tricky. Brock Hoffman, a young guy that came in, played on the offensive line, and did a stand-up job. That's a guy that you might want to think about keeping, especially with your right guard, if Zach Martin, and I don't think it's a if, I just think it's a win. If Zach Martin decides that he wants to call it quits, he didn't have a great year this year, and it was one of those things where it seemed like Father Time just caught up with him, and that's a tough position to play. But Brock Hoffman stepped in and did a good job. T.J. Bass also stepped in and did a good job as well. And probably the biggest name that's not on this list, and he is not a free agent, but it's one of those things that you have to get the deal done as soon as possible, is Micah Parsons. Where does Micah Parsons fall into this? And there's been a lot of speculation, well, not even speculation. There's been a lot of talk about Myles Garrett wanting to come to the Cowboys. He wants out of Cleveland. Cleveland's kind of a rocky situation, not even kind of rocky. It's very rocky. They got a high draft pick, and they may think about getting a quarterback. Fly, Eagles, fly. Yeah, I can't deny it. Y'all did a little bit more flying than the Cowboys did. Excuse me, this year, that's for sure. Congratulations to the Eagles, man. It's a great season. Wish you guys the best in the Super Bowl. But you're gonna have your hands full. That guy named Patrick Mahomes, he don't do too much losing. You know what I mean? You've got some serious questions that you need to answer, and another big hole that you're gonna have to fill is you're gonna have to fill this number 2 receiver hole. And Cooper Kupp has been a name that's been thrown around because the Rams have said, they're gonna move on from Cooper Kupp, and he would be a guy that would come in here and be a plug and play guy that would be very, very effective. I think in any offense in the NFL. But here with the Cowboys, he would get a lot of targets and he would take a lot of pressure off CD Lamb. So, do you go the rookie route, in the draft? Do you want to draft a wide receiver, somebody like Luther Burden III, that'd probably be available down there at that 12th draft pick? Would you think about somebody like that? And we'll go more into that about players that I think that would fit that number 1 draft pick. We'll go into that in another show. But, in this, the way that this team is constructed, especially with your offensive coordinator and your head coach, that look like history has shown that they're just run first guys, right? This whole Ashton Genty thing really comes into play. Or is there a guy that you could look at in free agency where you feel like you may be able to fill that role and then get somebody later in the draft, But Genty's one of those type of players. He's one of those, type of guys like a Bijan Robinson, somebody like that, where if he's sitting there, he's going to be really, really hard to pass up because he's an instant plug and play guy. He's electric. He breaks a lot of tackles. He's got great durability, and you can re-sign Rico Dowdle, and those two can split carries, man, and you can have a pretty dynamic backfield. And I think that they need something like that, especially to take the pressure off Dak, because nobody knows what this injury is going to do. I've read some cases where people recover from this injury and they go on about their lives and they continue to do great things. And I've also heard that this injury can hamper you in your mobility. And we all know that Dak ain't that mobile no way. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on what the Cowboys want to do with this situation. There's a lot of free agents that they're going to have to sign. There's a lot of guys that, there's some guys that they're going to have to let go. But this is a season where I think that, if you're going to be successful and you're going to try to win this fan base back for real, you're going to have to attack free agency. You're going to have to bring some solid football players in here, and you're going to have to give this coach an opportunity to win some football games. And that all comes from the front office. You got to attack it. You got to get it done. You cannot continue to try to build a team off the draft and throw 8, 9 rookies out there and think that you're going to be successful. Sure, second and third year, they'll be a lot better, right? And they'll get a lot of experience. Like somebody like Tyler Guyton. Tyler Guyton needs somebody to come in here, offensive line coach, that's going to really sit down with him, especially during this offseason into OTAs and on into training camp, that's going to work a lot with him, get his footwork right, get his hands right. Naturally big guy, strong dude, but he needs a lot of work. And they need somebody that's going to come in here and work with him. You know what I mean? Excuse me, somebody that's willing to come in here and work with it. A lot of guys, especially when you get to the NFL, they don't want to work. They don't have time to work with you. You know what I mean? They just want you to go in, follow the scheme. They'll give you a couple of pointers or whatever, and then put you in the game. And you hold your own. If you don't hold your own, you got to go sit down. And that's kind of what happened to him this year. But got to show up this offensive line. You got to get some running backs. You got to get some wide receivers. You got to get some defensive linemen. You got to get some linebacker help, because it don't look like Overshown will be back, minimum time November, December. Safeties need some help. Corners need some help. This is a football team that really needs a lot of help. And you have an opportunity to kind of cut some weight in this free agency, build your money up, and you can go with your own free agents, get rid of some dead weight of your own free agents, build some money up, and go into free agency where you can go after some guys. And I'm not saying that you have to go after just star-studded players. You don't have to go after big-name players. I'm talking about go after guys that are solid football players, right? And that can come in and help this football team win football games. That's what it is. That's how you win your fan base back. You got Cowboys come out and start winning games, man. The fan base will come back. There's a lot of guys that just aren't happy. At least you guys are better than the Jets. We need everybody. Right. What people? What people are you talking about? Hopefully the Eagle fans are in where they at? New Orleans. Yeah, on Radio Row, getting interviewed or whatever. Kind of jealous. Cowboy fans don't do that. Jets, the Jets are kind of a precarious situation because, man, I don't know, man. They're gonna need somebody super strong to come in and put that team together. Aaron Rodgers just wasn't that guy. Robert Saleh obviously wasn't that guy. The Jets need a lot of work. And there's a lot of teams that are in maybe worse situations. What up, Jeff? What's going on? There's a lot of guys that are probably in worse situations than the Cowboys are. But the Cowboys have been in this situation. The Jets went through some years to where they were going to NFC Championship games, and they were going to NFC Championship games with the offensive coordinator that's not the Cowboys head coach, and Mark Sanchez. They just built the team, running the football, playing, some defense where, phenomenal defense, and just the offense where you just manage the game. You run the ball a little bit. Sanchez would come out and throw the ball, very little, but he was semi-effective, but it didn't matter because they were winning football games. If the Cowboys build something like that and it takes them to an NFC Championship game, shit, I think everybody here would be happy. I think you would start to, win some of these younger fans over. I truly and honestly believe that. But right now, it's us true diehard Cowboy fans that are ones that are gonna stick by until the end. But I tell people all the time, man, even my best friends, my closest friends in the world, I tell them if they messed up, I get pissed off at them too. I get pissed off with the Cowboys. They've been doing dumb shit for 30 years. And maybe it will change. Like I said, Steven said some things that I've never heard any of them say before, ever. Ever. They've never said anything like that before. We realize that we can't keep doing the same things over and over again. Okay, that's a start, right? Then the next step is just to do it. Don't do it. Don't do the same things over and over again. Put together a solid football team and let the coaches do their things. Stop landing your damn helicopter in the middle of the practice field. Craziest shit I ever seen. Craziest thing I've ever seen. Have to be the limelight, have to be the center of attention. And it's not conducive to good football. It's a distraction. Your biggest distraction on the Dallas Cowboys is your owner. And that's unfortunate. Super unfortunate. So, Cowboy fans, yeah, we're upset. I think we have every right to be. I don't know if we have as much right to be as upset as Maverick fans right now. And I'm a Mavs fan too. And I have a different thought process behind it. My thought process behind the whole Luka trade is pretty simple. If you're if you're exceptionally good at your job, no matter what your job is, and you are one of the best in the entire company at your job, right? But you consistently show up late to work. You're good at your job, but you don't clean up after yourself. You go out and do a tremendous job on building whatever or putting together whatever or whatever, whatever it is that you do, for a living. You consistently leave a mess and let everybody else clean up your mess. And then you come to work every morning hungover and late. What do you think is going to happen to you? You probably going to get fired. Luka had in your opinion, how you think Dallas will be next season? I'll answer that question in just a second. Luka came in, right? He had a weight limit. He had a target weight that he had to be at 235. Luka came in at 260 pounds. They really didn't want to let him play in the Christmas game, and he went out there and played, and he got hurt. And it was one of them situations where they said, hey, I told you so. You know what I'm saying? We told you what was going to happen. They gave him 11 days for a sprained wrist, right? But then you come to find out that sprained wrist wasn't even really the case. They gave him 11 days to lose weight. He hired a health and nutrition staff, some people that were going to be with him from his home in Slovenia. They came over here. He was at 268 pounds. When he came back after those 11 days, he lost a little bit of weight. He weighed 262 pounds. Jason Kidd reportedly was pissed off at him because, they gave him his jersey during media day, take pictures and stuff during training camp or whatever they call it. I can't remember what basketball players call it, preseason basketball. And you could see his belly button in his jersey. And it pissed him off. And, they called the Milwaukee Bucks and they wanted to trade for Giannis. And Milwaukee told them, hell no, we don't want your problem. What do you expect? Sure, he's going to give you 30 points a night. He's going to give you 30 points a night. But if I'm trying to run an organization and I'm trying to run a ship where, I'm trying to run a tight ship, I'm trying to run a bunch of players, and my star player, the guy that's supposed to be my leader, is the one that's consistently going against the grain, shit, what do you think going to happen? You know what I'm saying? The whole thing that I really, really hope is that I really hope Luka learns from this. I do. I hope he learns from this, and I hope he goes to LA and he gets his act together. And I hope he does great things. It's never been about Luka staying being in shape or getting in shape, because he comes in the season every year out of shape and then he works himself into shape. The thing with Luka is you have to stay in shape. You have to stay in shape. You need to consistently be walking around at 230 pounds and ready to hoop on a moment's notice. And Luka can't do that right now. And that's why the Mavericks got rid of him. And it sucks. You know what I'm saying? It sucks as a Dallas fan because the Cowboys suck. And now you look at the Mavericks and you like, damn, they gonna suck. But if you really, really, really look at it, if you really look at the Dallas Mavericks roster, right? You've got Kyrie at the 1, Clay at the 2, PJ at the 3, AD at the 4, and Gafford the Lively at the 5. That's a pretty fucking good lineup, if you ask me. I like it. I like it a lot, and I think it'll be really, really good for team basketball here in Dallas. Now, you might only have 15 or 20 fans in the stadium, and Nico better not show his ass up to this next home game because he like to sit on the floor at home games. He better not show up. He gonna get hit with something. I guarantee you. I would not show up to that game. But winning cures everything, and that's the only way you're gonna fix it. Caller, whoever that was, man, call back. My bad, I didn't see it. That's the only way. Um, you know, and if you have the opportunity to fix it, right, then fix it, even if it's not popular. And Nico better hope it works. I promise you that. Caller, you on the mic. What's up?
That I hope I never see again. They playing against Joel Embiid and then big number 28 that play for Philly, and they try to go small ball. They had a lineup I never want to see again. They had Kyrie on the floor. They had Max Christie. They had Klay Thompson. They had Najee Marshall, and then I think they threw Gafford out there. So they pretty much had four guards and Gafford. I don't think they'll be doing that often once they get AD back and Lively back. But they need all their horses back to try to make this thing look good, man. They lost to Philly tonight. They had an opportunity to win it, but it just wasn't looking good. I mean, they actually look better. Kyrie's first game in Dallas when Luka wasn't there 2 years ago. They actually look better then than they do right now. They look very bad, but very good at times, but not what I was expecting. So I can't wait to see what it look like when AD finally get back though.
Right. And the lineup would be totally different because, like you said, right now you got a whole lot of injuries and you got to get those guys healthy. But once that lineup gets solidified and they can get those guys into the lineup, I think it'll be a whole lot better. But right now, man, like the worst thing that can happen is people are not going to accept. They don't give a damn about these injuries. They don't give a damn about none of that. The only thing that people give a damn about is Luca's ass is gone. And it's a casket in front of American Airlines Center with 77 jerseys thrown all over it. And Dallas fans are outside protesting and shit because they so mad about Luca getting traded. So I hope they get it right, man. I hope for Nico's sake they get it right. And you know, it is what it is, man, especially with that. So in my opinion, how do I think Dallas will do next season? It all depends on what they do in the next 3 or 4 months with this roster. You absolutely 100% have to get whoever you're going to sign. You're going to have to take these free agents that the Cowboys have right now. You're going to have to pick and choose, and it all depends on when they finalize. You can't really tell what they're going to pick until they finalize the coaching staff. Once they finalize the coaching staff and they choose who they're going to choose and they let walk who they're going to let walk, I want to see how they attack free agency. If they bring some solid players in here, and I like I said, it don't have to be superstars, be solid players in here. Your division is a little bit tougher now. It's a little bit tougher. So I would say 10, 11 wins is a pretty successful season. But if you keep consistently doing the same shit that you've been doing over and over and over again, you're going to look at another 3 or 4 win season. That's what I think. Well, not another 3 or 4 win season. I picked them to win 4 games this year. They kind of exceeded my expectations. But you would legitimately see a 4-win season. Strictly because Washington is going to be a mainstay for a while. They got a great quarterback. They got a great mentality with the team, and they have a great set of ownership that's going to let football people do football things. And the Eagles are going to consistently, no matter what their salary cap issues are, they're consistently going to put a squad on the field. That's just what they do. That's what they do. And to be honest with you, Jerry should probably take notes from them. I know it sounds horrible, but the Cowboys will be great. Jerry would have to sell or step down as the GM. I agree 100%, Gregory. Like, no question about it. However, if Jerry is going legitimately, and Steven as well, because Steven pulls a lot of strings these days. If they really understand that they can't keep doing the same things that they've been doing over and over and over again, right? And they truly understand that, and they're gonna sit back and just chill. I can respect that, and I don't have a problem with either one of them being the general manager if they're gonna do that. But if you're just gonna consistently get in the way and undermine your coach and cut his legs out from under him, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people said that, one thing about Schottenheimer is Schottenheimer, he really has the drive and he really wants to win championships. And we don't think Mike McCarthy said that. And there was a couple of people that has been saying that here in the last few weeks. And I don't really think that's the case with McCarthy. What I really think the case, because when McCarthy came in here, McCarthy was hungry and he wanted to win. He really did. I think that McCarthy kind of understood what the Cowboys were, and he just kind of just bowed down and let Jerry do whatever the hell he wanted to do and just stayed out the way. Because there's no way that team should have won 7 games. Not with the way the injuries went, you know what I'm saying? And the roster just got depleted. You took starters out, right? Especially with your offensive linemen. Zach Martin went out, TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman, whichever one you wanted to pick, went in, and the offensive line got better. And Rico Dowdle ran the ball well. And that just lets you know where the weak link was on the offensive line. And that's that whole loyalty thing, right? Zach Martin, Father Time hit him, and it happens to everybody. Zach Martin will probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But he got old on us. He got a bad back. You know what I'm saying? And you can't really come back from that, especially being a guard where you're consistently struggling with another man on every single offensive play you're on the field. And it's just one of those things where, even if he decides he wants to play, I don't know if you bring him back. And, everybody would, a lot of people would say, well, that's Zach Martin. Well, that's Zach Martin. That's Zach Martin. Well, shit, that was Tyron Smith too. He's gone too. You know what I'm saying? Offensive linemen get old, and you have to move on from them. And it looks like these guys that were behind him were pretty damn good. And I would try to ride with them, and it would save you about $13 million a season. Luka Doncic's nutritionist is a pizza boy and the ice cream man. I mean, it's pretty close. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just come in fat. Like, you can't do it. And you can't come in fat and expect to perform. You know what I'm saying? And every single year, and I've been kind of pointing that out, especially on the group podcast. I've been pointing that out where we talk a lot of basketball too, that every single season, Luka has this mysterious injury at the beginning of the season, and he comes back and he looks better. They take Luka off the court and they put him in the gym, and he got to run damn suicides till he lose weight. That's what's happening. I promise you that's what's happening. And he gets pissed off, you know what I'm saying? He's mad, but he comes back in, he's in pretty good shape, and he ends up having a good year. Like he always does, right? Offensive year. He ain't going to give you defense. But offense, he has a very good year. And this year, I think it was probably the worst that it's ever been because the Olympics were this summer and Slovenia didn't make the Olympics. So he just sat at the house. His old lady just had a baby. And, when mama eat and baby eat, shit, I'm going to eat too. You know what I'm saying? And Luka doesn't have the type of genetics where he can do that. Luka needs to eat carrots and lettuce all day, every day. And that's it. That's all he can eat, and drink water and a little bit of orange juice. That's it. That's what he can do. And Luka likes to eat steaks and potatoes and drink beer. It is what it is. Michael Finley took that beer out of his hands. I'm telling y'all, last year he took that beer out of his hands right after the Western Conference. I was about to say NFC Championship game. After the Western Conference Championship game, he took that beer from him. That was a sign right then. Luka got some kind of issue, right? And they trying to look out for him because ain't no grown man just gonna come and take another grown man's beer. You know what I'm saying? That unless there's something there, something underlying where they like, no, you don't need this beer. You tripping. Congratulations on the win. You played a hell of a series, but you're not finna drink this beer. It is what it is, man. That's what's going on. I promise you that's what's going on with that, because you don't get rid of a player, especially the centerpiece of your franchise, the fan favorite, that guy. You don't get rid of that guy unless there's something wrong. Tom Landry got soft and was loyal to too many players also. Same exact thing, right? Tom loved his people, loved the players, loved everybody, right? And they had to get rid of him, and that was one of those things with the Cowboys. They was ready to, that was probably in the city, Jeff, and correct me if I'm wrong. That's probably the equivalent to what's going on right now, because the way Tom Landry was loved and respected here in the city, and you fire him, you put him on his ass, it's kind of almost the same as trading Luka. They wanted Jerry's ass. They wanted his ass. And they came out and went 1-15. And these fans around here, because I remember my father and my grandfather, I was still real young, but I remember my father and my grandfather like, man, get this dude the hell up out of here. You know what I mean? But after 3 years, you start winning Super Bowls and going to NFC championship games at least, you know what I'm saying? And, winning cures everything. Like I said, new to your channel, I'm a Ravens fan, but support good content. Ravens night, I appreciate you, man. That's everybody, man. Like and subscribe, man. If you haven't already, I appreciate it. Ravens, I appreciate you too, man. Thank you very much. And you know what they said, Jeff, about that hole in the ceiling? They said that hole was in the roof of Texas Stadium, so God could watch his favorite football team. Hey, man, I bet you that God like Kansas City now. That sucks to say. It's tough, and it doesn't help. It doesn't bode well, especially with Cowboy fans, and specifically, right? It doesn't bode well when two teams from your division are going to be, looks like they're going to be perennial powerhouse for years to come. That's tough. That's tough. And you have a roster. You had a roster that you've let a lot of players walk away that were, super talented. Even going back to Tony Romo years when Dez caught it, that was an ultra talented football team. That is a football team that there is no way in hell without some solid coaching that they wouldn't win a Super Bowl. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? And the Cowboys have put together some teams here in the last couple of years that were really, really good. And they felt like they could really get the job done. And then, like I say all the time on here, man, when the checkerboard goes away and this chessboard comes out, man, we can't keep up. Don't you agree that one problem for the Cowboys, they make the worst signings and rejecting the wrong players? Like, for example, Derrick Henry. Bro, I 1000% agree with you. So there were some things last year, right, that happened that were crazy. And there were some other things, man, that kind of tripped me out, especially with Cowboy fans, that you don't pick up on. You don't pick up on it until it's too late. So you had Derrick Henry and you had Saquon Barkley, right? And if you look at Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry's contract, if you look at Barkley and Henry's contracts, I think Trey Lance makes as much, if not more money than they make this year. I think he may make a little bit less than Saquon Barkley, but definitely something that you could have afforded, right? So if you really step back and look at it, during the offseason, you kept hearing that the Cowboys are constrained by money. We're constrained by our contracts. We're constrained by the salary cap. But as soon as you sign Dak Prescott and CD Lamb, magically $28 million appear. Why didn't you just get that shit done sooner so you can attack free agency? That's just bad business. That's all it is. It's just bad business, right? If I have an opportunity to make my football team better, now I'm not saying Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley have the years that they have with their respective teams this year, right? Because the Cowboys had some more underlying problems. But I promise you, they 1,200-yard rushes. I promise you that. Saquon probably 13, 14. And Saquon is used to running behind a bad offensive line because he had the worst offensive line in New York. This offensive line was better than that, right? It's just bad business. And Cowboy fans been getting the wool pulled over their eyes by the owner for years. And Cowboy fans are always on Romo's ass or on Dak's ass about the team not winning. Last time the team won something significant, I keep saying it over and over again, Dak was one. He was 1 year old. Will the Cowboys re-sign Micah Parsons? I hope so. Now, here's the thing. Micah Parsons has said on numerous occasions, I'll take less money to stay in Dallas. I'll take less money to stay in Dallas. If I'm the general manager / owner / CEO / everything that Jerry is, right? As soon as I heard that, we talking contracts right now, because that's the type of guy that you need on your roster. Sure, he has a little bit of a distraction, right? He's got this podcast, and sometimes he get on there and he talks reckless. But on the football field, when he's healthy, and it was definitely evident after he got hurt in the Giants game, he came back five weeks later. This team was just significantly better, right? Especially defensively. They were better. And they were better because you have to respect Micah Parsons wherever he lines up on the field. You can't just run ramshot on offensive line, just running ramshot. You have to respect where Micah Parsons is because you got to hold him in check. No Micah Parsons leaving for the Bills, I think. Whew, that would be tough. Now, if Micah Parsons leaves for the Bills and you can bring somebody like Myles Garrett in, that would be fantastic, right? That would be okay. But I would love to see Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett on the same defensive line. That would be insane. We want Micah in Baltimore. Oh, man, that would be rough. Jerry Jones will lose Parsons and get little or nothing for him by throwing more money at Dak Prescott. And then people continue to wonder why the team cannot win. Well, tell you what. Dak's already paid, so you're not going to throw no more money at him, right? And you really can't get mad at Dak getting paid because he is $4 million better than Trevor Lawrence. That's what you call the quarterback market. And there's a lot of talk about how the quarterback market will be split into a different salary cap space than the other team, and that would be fantastic. But right now, it's not, right? It's just not. One thing that I will tell you this about this last season, and I'll say this, Michael. If I have a $60 million investment, let's just say this. And Michael, you can respond to me in the comments if you want to, right? If you buy a new house, right? And let's say you buy yourself a new house with all the bells and all the whistles in it, right? You buy yourself a fabulous house. Everything that you wanted inside your crib, you got it. But it has no windows. What would you do? I promise you would go buy some damn windows. I promise you. They gave Dak Prescott no offensive line, one wide receiver, and no running backs. Let's go win us a Super Bowl, Dak. We believe in you. Bullshit. No, you don't. Taking a running back in the first round is the wrong move, which is why this team can never win. Depends on who that running back is. It does. If you're going to be a run-first football team, like Schottenheimer likes to coach run-first football teams, I'm absolutely going to get a bell cow in the first round. Absolutely. Because it's conducive to what my game plan is going to be. Now, if you're going to draft a running back in the first round and throw the ball 60 times a game, then yeah, it's probably a waste of a draft pick. This team needs to create an identity. Agreed. Now, I will ask you this. Do you think Brian Schottenheimer is the guy that's going to build that identity for them? Because you're only as good as your leader. And right now, the leader of this football team for the last 30 years is Jerry Jones. And that's exactly the identity that this team has built. Build up heavy on defense with a strong front seven. Add some good run blockers with the offensive line, and everything else will fall into place. I agree, 100%. I agree. Now, I'm building my defensive lineup with some veterans. And there are some really, really, really good free agents that will come in at a pretty decent price. You're not going to have to break the bank for them. And you can build a defensive line rotation, specifically with your defensive tackles, right? Specifically. Now, if you're not going to bring somebody like Myles Garrett in, because it probably will be too much money, Carl Lawson did a pretty damn good job last year. And you've got Micah Parsons on the defensive end, on the other side. And then you've got the rookie Marshawn Nealon, who came in after his injury and played pretty good football, right? And you can bring another defensive end to put four defensive ends on the team and have a defensive end rotation where you can keep these guys fresh, where Micah Parsons don't have to be in the game every play trying to stop the run and the pass. he can really become like a third down specialist and just get after the quarterback and have his legs fresh, right? But you have to do that. You have to build the football team like this. And that's what I'm talking about. You have to stop doing the same shit over and over and over again. You have to do what works. It's not back in the day football anymore. You have to wake up with the times. That's why I'm really, really happy that this coaching staff is semi-young. It's semi-young. And maybe they can put together a football team that can do something. However, if Jerry steps in the way, it's going to be the same old shit. Exactly. Who thinks of giving a quarterback no offensive line except for CD? It's just not smart. It's not. It's bad business. It's bad business. And the crazy part about it is that I thought it was Terrence Steele, because Terrence Steele looked like he was getting beat like a sword like a drum. Excuse me. He was getting whooped. But then as soon as Zach Martin went out, Terrence Steele all of a sudden started playing better. So what he was trying to do is probably compensate, because he knew Zach Martin probably needed some help, and then he bounced out and tried to get his man. And he was just late. You see what I'm saying? But that's the kind of things that when you have players that are just getting beat, right? Everybody tries to compensate for him, and it's just time for him to come out. You know what I'm saying? And as soon as Zach Martin came out of the lineup, and it's nothing against Zach Martin, just Father Time caught up with him. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it does it to everybody. Father Time is undefeated. And like I said, Zach Martin can retire tonight and ride off into the sunset, and in 5 years, he'll be a Hall of Famer, and everything will be fine for him. You know what I'm saying? But this year, he was bad. He was horrible. I'm old school. I remember the 92, 93, 94 Cowboys. Yes, man. Super dominant. Super dominant. And, you know, they were built on running the ball and playing good defense. That's what they were built on. And they had a good quarterback, and they had some good receivers, you know what I'm saying? And they had a good tight end. But Emmitt Smith was the bell cow. And that's what he did. You know, he got him the tough yards. And that offensive line, it may be one of the best constructed offensive lines in NFL history. It was a great team. I love to watch them. I went to a lot of games during that time period with my father and my grandfather. And I'm accustomed to the Cowboys winning. I still remember those days. Those are my childhood memories, is watching the Cowboys whoop ass. You know what I'm saying? I just want that to come back. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I feel about it as a Cowboy fan. I love them to death. They're my favorite team. I get pissed off at them. I'm pissed off at them. It seems like every playoffs, because every week we building up into the Super Bowl thing, and it's the damn Eagles. You know what I'm saying? And you got people on here talking about fly, Eagles fly. You know what I'm saying? Nothing against you, man. You know, I ain't mad at you. You just cheering for your team. But it's one of those things, man, where like, shit, I want to cheer for my team in the Super Bowl too. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about with these Cowboy fans. They pissed. And these younger generations of fans, man, they've never seen the Cowboys win. The only thing they hear is their daddies and their granddaddies talk about the Cowboys winning. And they like, man, that's old shit. You know what I'm saying? That's old. You know what they doing right now. Like I said, I try to get my son to watch the Cowboys with me. He's like, Dad, Cowboys suck. And that shit sucks, man. I want my son to be a Cowboy fan too. But he's like, I like Patrick Mahomes. I like Jalen Hurts. You know what I'm saying, man? It's crazy. I want him to be successful. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I remember it. Leon Lent, Nate Newton, Ken Norton, Larry Brown, Super Bowl MVP, got a big contract, came back, didn't do a damn thing. It's a good football team, though, man. A great football team. This is the Cowboy glory days. We talking about a long time ago, though, a long time. And it's time for that to come back. And to be honest with you, you watch teams like Washington, they turn that shit around in one season. So it's not that difficult to do, right? But you got to bring football people in here, starting in the front office, and do football things. Let them and get your ass out the way. Go land your helicopter in Addison where it belongs. You know what I'm saying? You go sit in your office and watch practice. You sit in the press box in the game and watch the game, and don't be the first one down to the locker room so you can get in front of some cameras. Let the football people do football shit, and I promise you things will change around here. It will. We're all pissed because of these dumb choices. Mostly Jerry's old self. Yeah, man. But like I said, man, I've never heard them say anything ever remotely close to the point to where somebody said, either Jerry or Steven said, we realize we can't keep doing the same things over and over, man. You know, never even heard them say that. Never. And the fact that they even went in public and said it gives me a little glimmer of hope. Only time will tell, right? Only time will tell. Caller, what you got for me?
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Hold on. Yeah.
I can hear you.
Hey, bro, how you doing?
I'm doing
Great
good.
show.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
You got this Funky Town, bro. If you didn't know.
What's up, Funky
Hey,
Town? How you doing?
not bad, not bad. Hey, just wanted to say, uh, this is cathartic. Like people need to. This is a come to Jesus moment for Dallas Cowboys, and maybe finally people be willing to, you know, actually take out in how we as Cowboy fans, and I'm saying the overall we that we have allowed this to happen because we played along with the Jerry's World thing for decades.
Agreed.
And you see, but like father and your grandfather would have told you back in the day, we went through that lean patch, okay? That lean patch that happened in the 80s. Now, I grew up all my life as a Cowboy fan. Bro, can you imagine that until was it senior year in high school, I had never seen a Cowboy losing season?
Right. Right.
You understand? Matter of fact, up to my sophomore year, had never not seen the Cowboys in the playoffs.
Right. Right.
That's what it was. That's what built all stuff. That's why you had faith in Landry. That's why he got the grace he got for as long as he got it. Right? As a
Agreed.
matter, if you ask most Cowboy fans today, if you ask them who's the owner of the Cowboys before Jerry Jones, they're gonna tell you Tex Schramm 9 times out of 10.
Agreed.
He was the GM.
He was the GM.
Bud White was the owner.
Mm-hmm.
People in America don't know that,
Very true.
right? Because the point, like you're saying, the point is Jerry. He wants credit for being a football mind. He wants credit for all this other stuff. As an owner, he could have been the greatest owner in sports history if he had just stuck to being an owner. He is magnificent at being an owner. I mean, look at how the Cowboys are valued. That got to give him credit for that. That's him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But as far as playing football, until we get the mindset of we want the best young go getter as a coach with the coaching staff, and bring in some more young guns that are the people who got it in their brain that they sleep and live football. That's all they do. They don't have all these other grandkids, whatever. They're on they're up is what I'm trying to say.
Right. I
If
agree.
you look at what Jimmy did when Jimmy came in here, look at that. How many of the old boys are still on that staff?
None of
None.
None of them.
He brought in all go getters, all of them,
Yep.
just like him, and that's why he was able to change that culture. But Jared couldn't handle it.
Precisely.
Jared couldn't handle him getting it, and that's why his King Lear type of situation.
Yeah.
He's up here, doing all this. He's like you said, landing a helicopter. Who does that? Why is the owner having a TV show and a radio show and he's the one talking to the after the game when he was in the owner's box?
Agreed. Agreed.
Like we gotta, but see, as Cowboys fan, what people don't understand, we went through that dry spell in the 80s. Cowboys fans stopped going to the game.
Right.
We couldn't watch the games on local TV. We had blackouts
That's what I
over
was gonna
here.
say. Then they have
Why
something
was
called
that?
blackouts. Yeah, I
Yeah, they
remember
used to
that. I remember that.
they used to have blackouts.
Hmm.
If the home game sold out, then you couldn't watch the game local market. And that's how it was over here. We were that 1 in 15 year.
Yeah.
Only games we see were the Monday night games
Right.
and the away games.
Right.
See,
Right.
but that was because Cowboy fans wasn't gonna put up with that. Cowboy fans put up with that stuff back then. We just didn't play that. No. If you can't better, then I mean you got to realize up until about 2012. You know that we had more NFC East championships than all the other teams combined.
Right.
Just think about that for a second. All of them combined,
And you got some.
we had more.
And you got some old organizations in this division as well. And that's
The Giants and the Eagles are older than the Cowboys.
right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah. And the thing about the Cowboys to me, man, is well, the thing about Jerry is, and you are absolutely right, man. Phenomenal owner, phenomenal businessman, right? And the best decision he
Yes.
ever made for this football team was hiring Jimmy Johnson. But the worst decision that he ever made for this football team was firing him. Firing him.
Are you old enough to remember what Michael how he wrecked the locker room when he found out?
Yeah, I do. I remember that.
You remember that?
I
In
do.
shows, he was upset.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Because
Right?
they knew
And
they knew what the glue was. You know, they knew.
yes,
They knew what it was.
but you remember here's the other thing, and I'll leave you on this one.
Gotcha.
One of the things that broke my heart. I'm at on a training exercise, and I'm at the dining facility. Right?
All right.
It's 1998 NFL draft, and the whole time they're talking about, oh yeah, we gonna get Randy Moss. We gonna get Randy Moss. He gonna slip because all the little stuff that was coming up, and he dropped.
He did.
He dropped to us.
He did.
And what did they do? But first off, they told him that they were gonna go for him if he was there.
Mm-hmm.
Then they got Ellis was a good Cowboy. Not saying he wasn't. But you be telling me, and I'm so mad. I'm sitting there, bro. I couldn't eat my food. I was just like, oh, come on now. You had to see the talent. You had to see the talent.
And Randy,
You had a player that would have extended Michael Irvin's career, because if you got Randy Moss on the field, he playmaker is single covered.
right? And he
That's-
just like he extended Chris
you
Carter's career.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And Irvin, I'm sorry, and Emmett and Aikman's careers. Because see, now you can't just key on Emmett.
Yep.
Because back in that, if you go back and remember, it was Emmett left, Emmett right, Emmett up.
Yes.
Why? Because we had nobody stretching the field. We had no over the top threat
Nope.
back then. And he was guys in the box, and that's why it was just Emmett. Because everybody else was getting hurt, everybody else was getting old.
Yep. And one thing,
And again, lay that one just like I laid the Jimmy firing. I laid that at Jerry's footsteps.
oh,
Until
absolutely.
he decides that it's more important for him to have a winner instead of yes man and yes people around him. We're gonna be in this. We're gonna be doing the same conversation, man, next year.
I hope.
We're gonna be watching from the sidelines again.
I hope.
Because that whole team, it has like how you gonna wait? How you gonna wait to the last minute every single time it comes to Dak? When it came to Dak, they could have locked his ass up after his second year.
They could have locked him up a year before that and paid a whole lot less money.
Like I said, his second could have locked him up.
Yep.
Matter of fact, the year before that, they could have locked. After that, they still could have locked him up.
Yep.
They would have paid less. But what they do, they wait.
Literally,
Boom. Then this
wait
next
to
one,
literally
you do
wait
the same thing.
half an hour before the first game, and then magically 28 million appear in your salary
Yes.
cap.
And then and you do the same thing with CeeDee Lamb.
Yep.
What kind of business acumen is that? You either gonna make a move, or you go ahead and make the decision. But don't sit here and every single time then you lock yourself up. And we don't do anything in free agency this year. We don't get Derrick Henry, we don't get Saquon. I mean, come on, man. Like it's just foolishness on top of foolish. And the thing is, Cowboy fans, we gotta get an understanding, man. We gotta have some standards.
Right.
We can't just keep co-signing off, because that's what it is. Every time we fill up that stadium, we just co-sign it.
That's all you're doing. Precisely. Every time you go to
That's
the
all
store and buy a Cowboy T-shirt, you're doing the same shit.
Yep.
Yep.
And he got everybody playing along to his tune. I mean, I give him man's a show, but after a while, y'all got to realize this is circus, and a game is supposed to be football,
Precisely.
not clown ball.
It's not clown ball. It is football. Funky Town, I appreciate you, call, man. Thank you.
Got it, brother.
In, my brother.
Have a good evening.
You too, my brother.
All right.
He's right. That's how we co-sign to it, man. Is we keep investing into it, and it is hard, man. It's hard to tell a dude 176 million how much he paid for the Cowboys, and it's worth close to 12 billion now. It's hard to tell him that he's losing. It's real hard. Only way you can tell him he's losing is not show up, right? But you got guys like me, right? And you got guys like Funky Town, diehard Cowboy fans, man. Through the thick and through the thin, it's just been thin for a long time. And that's what I'm talking about with these fans, man. We're tired of it. So King Cool J says, call it what it is. It's a bad organization. I have great memories, but it's a glorified brand and front business. And then he went to say, should have listened to Jimmy and let that go. Funny, because you kind of contradicted yourself, right? Bad organization. It's a bad run organization. I don't give a damn if Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback right now. You're not winning, because you don't get Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You get Patrick Mahomes and Brian Schottenheimer. It's not the same. You understand what I'm saying? So we can continue to blame individual players, especially the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, for this team's woes. They ain't got nothing to do with it. It's your quarterback. It's not your quarterback. It's your owner, because your owner keeps bringing bullshit in here, right? And I hope it changes. I really hope it changes. I hope Schottenheimer, what he's saying, I hope he can put that to action on the field, right? I hope that he can. The coaching staff that he's hired so far is not terrible. It's not Ben Johnson and the glorified coaching staff. It's not that, right? But it's not terrible. You understand what I'm saying? If you sit back and let them do things and hit bumps in the road and learn from each other, I think this can be a good coaching staff. We have to see with the rest of the staff when he fills it out. But I don't think it's bad. But you're gonna have to bring some players in here, and you're gonna have to be leaders of men, and you're gonna have to lead men into the battlefield, and you're gonna have to lead men to victory. Once you get into these playoff games, right? You can have whatever you have out there. You got to have a chess player pulling the strings. You have to have a chess player. But you have to have a person that can execute the playing of the chess. It's funny to me how you watch other teams play and you watch the offensive schemes that they play in, and receivers are running down the field wide open. And like, how in the hell is give me one. Give me a good receiver. How is Justin Jefferson, knowing damn well that he's finna get the ball, how is he running down the field wide ass open? It's schemed up good, man. It's schemed up good. And the Cowboys, you can sit right here and call Cowboy plays at 60%. You can do it. If you know anything about football, you can sit right in front of the TV on a Sunday and call Cowboy plays at 60%. What makes you think a defensive coordinator can't do it at 90? He getting paid to do it. You know what they're going to do. First down, short run. Second down, look for the tight end. Third down, CD somewhere. Fourth down, punt. Over and over and over again. But we should have listened to Jimmy and let that go. It's all his fault, right? I have a hard time believing that. All right. So now I made a couple upgrades just to my setup, right? I did. It's always elementary play calling, Jeff, all the time. And that shit is old. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna call plays like that, you have to have a prime Zeke every year in order to run the ball. You have to. Or you have to have DeMarco Murray running the ball for 12, 14, 1,500 yards every year. As soon as you don't have that, the offense takes a nosedive. It does. It takes a nosedive. And in those past years, they always had two receivers. This year, you only had one. Last time you did that, when Allen Hearn was your best receiver, you end up trading midseason for Amari Cooper because that shit was about to hit the fan. It looked just like this season looked. Exactly the same. It's just this year, we're not going to make no trades. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Sabotage, maybe? Could have been. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? McCarthy still made the best of it, especially with the changing around, shuffling around the offensive line and getting Rico going. You know, it semi worked. They were in that in the hunt slot over there in the playoff race. They were in that in the hunt thing down at the bottom. They were over there for a good part of the season. That's cool. You know what I mean? But Eagles are playing Sunday. You know what I'm saying? And the Cowboys aren't. So made some changes to my setup. Now I was kind of waiting for those changes to be made, so now we can be more consistent. I got a better product, so I'm hoping to put out a better product for everybody to see and to tune into. So we'll be more consistent with the shows from now on. Got a couple more changes that we're gonna make. You'll see some different things here in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully just kind of appeasing to the eye. You know what I'm saying, and give you some, maybe make me look better. I don't know. I was kind of born with this anyway, but anyway, what we'll start doing from now on is like we'll start going into like needs, right? Offensive line, defensive lines, and we'll break down positional needs, and start to kind of attack it like that, and just see, maybe we can kind of put together a football team that we think would be competitive, and let's see how close it comes to what they actually do. I'm really interested in this draft, particularly in the first pick. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't necessarily disagree, right? And I think it was Michael up here that said that taking a first round running back is the wrong move. I don't necessarily disagree with him, right? But if you have an opportunity to get a running back like Ashton Genty, I don't think you pass up on that. But there's no other running back that I would take in the first round. I don't care how bad I need it. There's no other running back I take in the first round because I feel like you can get running backs that are pretty damn good, especially if you just choose one from Ohio State, right? You can get them later, third round. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a fourth round pick this year. Remember that, right? And I wouldn't be opposed if there's a player that you really are not in love with, right? I wouldn't be opposed to trading down and trying to swap first round picks and take somebody else's fourth round pick to try to get that pick back and build some draft capital, right? Because tired of losing fourth round picks, especially for players that ain't gonna do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Trey Lance, he started one game his whole time here, right? And then you went and got a receiver in Mingo that he ain't even caught an NFL touchdown yet. He been in the league for 3 years, and you put a fourth round pick on that too. And just to keep it and just keep it a buck, I think Amari Cooper went to Buffalo for a fifth round pick. You know what I'm saying? Kind of makes you wonder. But anyway, we'll start to do these positional breakdowns, and we'll start to talk about these Cowboy needs, and it'll work up into free agency, right? And see how the coaching staff kind of feels this draft. Try to kind of feels this coaching staff up. Coaching staff up. Excuse me. I'm getting tired. And see what happens in this Super Bowl, I guess. I don't know, man. I'm gonna watch it, but kind of hard to cheer for the Eagles. Pick Kansas City. Hey, Kansas City used to be the Dallas Texans anyway. So shit, go Kansas City or Texans, whatever you want to call them. Dallas Texans, not Houston Texans. Yeah, so we'll do that, and we'll be able to take phone calls now, which is a really cool feature to have. You know what I'm saying? And because I like to hear from everybody here. I really do. I like to hear from everybody. I like to hear what you guys' thoughts are, and bounce these thoughts off each other and see if we can come up with something. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to the offseason. I'm looking forward to see what it brings. And I'm really, really hoping that Steven is right and they really have sat back and thought about it and was like, hey, we can't keep doing this same old stuff over and over again. And some things change. I really do. All right. So we'll probably be back on Saturday. We'll talk some more Cowboy football stuff, and we'll talk about we'll probably go into wide receivers. I like that's the first thing that I would like to go into because I've got a really interesting scenario that could take place. And if that scenario does kind of come into play with that 12th pick, man, the Cowboys really got some decisions to make. But anyway, Cowboy C3, man. Always Dallas Cowboy fan for life, man. You guys have a great night. Go Cowboys, and see y'all soon. All right, peace.